welcome back to the Lockwood Chronicles. My name is Larissa, and today we have our August wrap-up! I read 10 books. I don't know how, but I did. Here we are to talk about it. Let's get into it. We have a good mix, I think. Alright, so starting off, the first book that I listened to was The Half of It by Madison Beer. This is her memoir. The half of it meaning that this is, half of her life, and yes, it's a memoir, but it's reflecting on that portion of her life and all that she's learned up to this point. She is a singer, so this is going from kind of the start of her career and her singing career and how she started off as just like a East Coast girly and then got picked up and started doing coast to coast, and that was super stressful. Eventually her and her mom moved to the West Coast, her brother too, and it kind of talked a little bit about her family. She also discusses her anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, so go into that and look up some more trigger warnings. I really enjoyed it. I don't recall a lot of it. I don't think I was the age of the Madison Beer girlies. I haven't really heard much of her music. I think she's just an interesting person, and she seems really chill and really cool. So yeah, it was interesting to listen to her memoir and all the things that went through with it, and there's journal prompts in it, which was really cool. So I really liked that mental aspect of it. Alright, I'm going to talk about these two together since they're in the series together, and that is China Rich Girlfriend and Rich People Problems. Why do I always get this mixed up? This is the second one and this is the first one. Or the third one. Whew, second and third. So China Rich Girlfriend. I enjoyed the first one. I really liked the narrator for the first one. The narrator in this one kind of annoyed me because they read every single footnote and it was like more of an aside. And it just took me out of the actual story and I was just getting really annoyed with it. They did a great job, but I preferred the first narrator more. And the first book also followed more of Rachel Chu and Nicholas Young. It did and it didn't. It was just weird. We follow a lot of different POVs, and Kitty Pong plays a bigger story in both of these than anticipated compared to the first one, which was very weird. And we see a lot of Astrid. There's definitely, again, more drama, just out of touch rich people. They can be so snooty and so stuck up, but yet like just want to watch more. This also has a bit more of Rachel's family background too. I'm glad I read it and know it. I just didn't really, I enjoyed the movie more. I wish they would have done a second and third movie. I really loved watching Astrid, and following her story in the books was what I looked forward to. But as the books, I don't know, meh. I was meh about them. The next book that I read is Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. This is the second book in the Knock 'Em Out series. They are independent standalones, however, they are very interconnected. So if you didn't read the first one, Things We Never Got Over, there are some things that you would not realize or know from Things We Hide from the Light. This is Nash and Lena's story, and it's the good boy, bad girl vibe, but Nash is going through some PTSD and working through a lot of trauma and is kind of grumpy, but he knows that he's supposed to be like the happy-go-lucky brother, and he's having trouble getting back to that. And Lena, she's a badass. She's so cool. She knows what she wants and goes and gets it, but she also has some intimacy issues as well, so it makes her difficult to connect with people and be vulnerable with people. I love this book, but I did not enjoy that Lena was constantly doubted by Nash and the guys. Like she is trained in certain things because of her profession. She is trained to handle a lot of different situations, and they completely like misogynistic, I'm gonna save the girl vibe, and they just like wouldn't let her participate or do anything, and made it seem like she was more of a damsel in distress than she was. And I was getting super annoyed by that because it's like, dude, take a seat. Like, she's got this. She's got a handle on it. So I didn't enjoy that aspect. I was really annoyed by that. I really did like everything in this, and just the small town vibes. So cute, so fun, and just seeing everybody do their thing. I will say it is very repetitive. The first one was also very repetitive, you know? This one is like, we can't be together, and then they get together, and then like, oh my gosh, I'm scared, and then back up, and then it's just a lot of like push and pull, which I didn't think was necessary. And there was just, yeah, repetition of other plot storylines, but I did really enjoy it. I really like Nash. He's just a sweetie pie. Right, next up is She Started It by Sian Gilbert. I read this on my Kindle, checked it out by my library. It is a thriller. And it is very much like Mean Girls meets Pretty Little Liars meets And Then There Were None. And it's 4 high school friends get invited to this girl's bachelorette party on a secluded island, and they tormented this girl wholeheartedly. They bullied her incessantly in high school. And this girl, she, Poppy is the name of the girl, and she invites them and asks them to be a bridesmaid in her upcoming wedding. And they are very confused, but they also are like, you know, why not? You know, because like they're getting a free trip out of this, flying first class, yada yada. Very, very unlikable characters. Like, they are horrible, horrible people. There is also multiple POVs, which is cool because you kind of get a glimpse as to what everybody's thinking, who they think did it, who actually did it, all that stuff. But the twists were pretty predictable. The synopsis and the story progression was great, but then it became so predictable. I saw everything come in. I haven't thought about it since I read it. I honestly forgot that I read it this month. Oh my goodness. Oh, this book here, Miss Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Obsessed. Absolutely in love. Oh my gosh, obsessed with this. This is very much like Gossip Girl vibes between Magnolia and BJ. It's kind of like Chuck and Blair, very tumultuous relationship, toxic relationship. You can tell how much they love each other. Just, it's such lyrical, beautiful writing. It's high English society meets Gossip Girl, and dual POV, which I really, really loved. Seeing BJ's and Magnolia's different version or different POVs, because you got into their head is like why they're doing the stupid stuff that they're doing and actually how they feel. And oh, it's just so heartbreaking to watch these two people that love each other so much, but they can just not get it together. They're for sure twin flames, twin flame energy for sure. I am so excited to continue this series. I know it's just gonna continue to wreck me. I like didn't even read the first page. I read the, not even page 1. It's like a prologue, preamble thing, and I cried. I cried. There was just a lot of stuff that like hit really hard for me in here. So good. I love it so much. Next up is Belladonna. I listened to this as an audiobook from my library, and I am going to buy this. The second book just came out. It's called Foxglove, and this is by Adeline Grace. First of all, the narrator, fantastic job. Beautiful job, like just pacing, and the different voices that they used were wonderful. Also, like every time, okay, let me just synopsis here. So it's about this girl named Signa. Her death follows her around everywhere she goes, literally and metaphorically. She has been moved from family home to family home because people keep dying around her, and she is like 19 and has to keep moving. And she is, when she turns 20, she's going to inherit this huge dowry or inheritance, and she'll be fine. But until then, she has to live family to family, and her family members just keep dying that she keeps moving on with. And death, she can see the actual Grim Reaper, and he kind of like has a little crush on her. And whew, every time the narrator said little bird, my heart fluttered like a little bird, and I just loved it so much. I could not get over it. And yeah, he calls her a little bird, and I just thought it was so freaking cute. Okay, this is classified as a young adult. It's new adult. It is a little bit too mature for a young adult, so go into that. There's a little bit of some sexual tension. And yeah, so Signa and Death have this like weird relationship, and then there's this other guy named Silas, and he's trying to help her solve potentially a murder of her aunt, so the new family members that she's living with. And her aunt has recently passed, and so the place that she's at is in mourning, and it's her uncle's pretty dang rich. So, but her cousin is also presenting with these signs that her mom was before she passed away. And Signa believes that somebody is poisoning her and also killed off her aunt. So she's trying to figure out what the heck is going on with the help of actual death and Silas and her other cousin too. So cool. But yeah, Signa can't die. And so when she does like ingest some poison or like falls down the stairs and breaks her neck, just pops up like a daisy. But when she's in between the realms or whatever, she can talk to death and hang with him, chill with him. I really loved it. I did not think I would love it as much as I did, but I loved it. Highly recommend the audiobook. It was so fun. It was a good time. So, but I will be getting the hardcover because it's beautiful, and I will be getting Foxglove because the cover is also just as beautiful. And I have already I'm on the wait list for the audiobook from my library. Behind the Net by Stephanie Archer. Hockey romance. I love a hockey romance. I love a sports romance, but oh wow. This is following Pippa and James. Pippa was growing up, she was a band geek. She and James went to, or is it Jamie? I think it's Jamie. Anyway, I'll say Jamie. Pippa and Jamie went to high school together. She was 2 years younger than him, and she just remembers him being super grumpy and like standoffish, and I mean, she was just this nerdy little band geek or whatever, and they didn't really talk or anything growing up. However, Jamie is a professional hockey player now. He moved back to Toronto, I believe, to be closer to his mom, and was traded back onto that team. The coach is like, hey, to help you get settled, most guys, to help them like unpack, walk the dog or whatever, they hire a personal assistant. And if you ever need somebody to do that, reach out to us. We'd be happy to hook you up with somebody. He's like, I don't have a dog and I got this. Lo and behold, he walks out of the stadium one night or the rink, and there's a stray dog, and she's delightful, and he meant to, you know, bring her to the pound, but fell in love with her and brought her home. So he calls his coach. He's like, I'm gonna need a personal assistant. And guess who his personal assistant walks up to be? It's Pippa. And it's so cute. It's so cute because their first interaction as they're adults now is she's like, oh, he does not remember me at all. This is so embarrassing. I'm not gonna like say anything. So she just played it cool, played it chill, did her job. If you watched my reading blog for Kindle Unlimited books a few weeks ago, you would see that like in his POV, because we get dual POV, in his POV, when he first sees her, he's like, there's Pippa. I can't breathe. And it's so cute. You just like immediately, he's like, I have had such a crush on her forever. And it's just so cute, and just, it's close proximity, grumpy sunshine, and like I said, dual POV, and it is so cute. It's so fun. I did not think that I would like it as much as I did, but I was kicking my feet. I was giggling. It is spicy as well. Oh, it's so good. Highly recommend that book. I'm so excited for the rest of the series to come out because, wow. It gave the same vibe as Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, and I just loved it. I loved it so much. And the next up was The Project by R.L. Matthewson. I also read that in that reading vlog. R.L. Matthewson is just kind of like my go-to, like not even guilty pleasure, but cheesy, rom-com, fun little novels. And she has written one of my favorite like guilty pleasure series, which is the Neighbor from Hell series. Her writing is very, I was never part of the Wattpad phase, but from what I've gathered, it's very similar to that style of writing, like not super polished, just more fun and quirky and cute and nothing serious, and I just love that about her. It's just a good time. And yeah, so I read The Project. The Project wasn't one of my favorites from her. It was more of like it was a tell that more than show. Like there was a lot of things that happened in the book and I'm like, you could have like described it a little bit instead of, it was just like a lot of time jumps and not jumps, but like blips. And all of a sudden two main characters were like each other, and then they're having sleepovers, but we never got to like see a lot of that progression throughout the relationship. So this is about Andy and Devin. Andy is super smart. She's really great with numbers. However, she hates accounting. She does, everywhere she works, she gets put in the accounting department because they realize what she can do with numbers, and she hates it. So she is applying at a job at the hotel or Carta Hotels franchise. And Devin is the CEO of that franchise, and he goes through personal assistance like no other. And he happens to see Andy walk in with her resume, and he goes over and plucks it from HR and is like, come with me, and gives her an impromptu interview and to be his personal assistant. And she ends up getting the job. She ends up being terrible at the job, but he likes her so much that they just develop, and she takes on another role, and she ends up saving him from signing onto a contract that could have cost the hotel a ton of money. And so they're looking into how somebody has embezzled all this money and what went wrong and why they didn't catch it sooner. Again, it was more of a tell more than show. I would have loved to have seen a more show. And then next up, I listened to Your Money, Your Life by Joe Dominguez. I don't know how I feel about this one. I've heard mixed reviews about this book, so I thought I would listen to it. It's more for the people that are wanting to do the FIRE movement, so financial independence, retire early. There was a lot of like tips and tricks and everything like that on how to do it, but again, it was more of like, instead of showing us, they were just telling us to do these things. There wasn't like any substantial numbers. I don't know if it's because I didn't have the book, so I didn't have the PDF or whatever, but they go on and on about like putting up this wall chart to track every single expense, which, you know, I do follow because rounding is not my forte. I need like structure. But there were a lot of testimonies about the program that they used. However, it didn't really go into depth with those testimonials, you know? Like they'd be like, oh, so-and-so got out of debt by using this strategy. Yay. Instead of being like, here's how they did it, and like, here's what they prioritized, here's what they cut down kind of thing. It was just more like, they did it. If you're wanting to do the FIRE movement, good for you. But it's just, you know, I want to enjoy my life as I'm living it instead of hustling and bustling. There was a lot of like things that were controversial to what I believe, as well as like what I have learned to be true about finance. But I see what they're saying on a lot of it, but a lot of it is outdated advice, and I did not enjoy that aspect of it. Oh, lastly, let's hope my camera doesn't overheat for this one, because this one, wow. Wow, here we go. I finished it. Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas, the last book in the Throne of Glass series. I cried so many times during this book. I didn't want to finish this book. There was a certain point where I'm like, if I just stop now, nothing bad will ever happen again. The ending was worth it. Worth all the pain, all the trauma, all the tears. It was beautiful, it was wonderful, and I absolutely loved it so much. I just envisioned Taylor Swift as our lead the entire time, because they're a mastermind, and they're blondie. But yes, they're a complete mastermind. Every little thing is planned out, just all the scheming, all the planning and little tricks, and oh, it's so good. And I will definitely be rereading this series at one point, because I would love to see everything that led up to this book. It tied all of these together beautifully. We also get a glimpse in ACOTAR, which is great. It's so cute. It's so cute. But everything in this book just was perfection. Perfect ending, perfect everything. It all came together. I'm getting like really emotional just thinking about it. It was so good. This series gives me the same feeling I had when I read Harry Potter for the first time all the way through, and especially with the Deathly Hallows. I loved the ending of the Deathly Hallows, and it was just like, or like that whole book, it was perfection. You just see all of these things that happened just come full force into play, and just like all the foreshadowing to end with this. Oh, I'm just so happy to have read this series this year, and Oh, I'm so sad that it's over, even though Sarah J. Maas, she's playing with us. She said, is it over? And I'm like, girl, don't do that to me. If you go into the series, just like picture Taylor Swift as the lead. And you'll be so happy that you did. I'm so happy that I spaced them out. I loved that I was able to like lengthen out the process, even though I really wanted to binge them and get it done, but I would have burned out and I wouldn't have appreciated them knowing myself. That being said, I'm so really sorry to all of my friends that kept telling me, please read them sooner and faster. And I didn't listen because no one tells me what to do. But it was so worth it. It was so worth it. And thanks for like chatting with me on Instagram about it, you guys. I love that interaction. Love that you saw me cry multiple times on my Instagram. Yeah, the last 300 pages, it took me forever to get through because I'm like, I can't. I emotionally can't do this. But it was worth it. Worth every page, every second, every hour. And she's a chunky book. That's all the books that I read in August, all 10. But I only have, what, 5 physical books? Wow. I really utilized my Kindle and Libby app. Such a great reading month. What was my average? Okay, so my average reading score for the month was 3.4. What was your favorite book that you read this month? I would love to know that, or in the month of August. Please let me know. All right, with that being said, respect others, respect yourself, and do something amazing with your day. Thanks, bye.